My name is Scott Baker, I'm 32, and I'm a software architect specializing in optimizing logistics operations for construction companies. My family owns Baker & Sons Construction Supply, a respected regional building materials company here in Ohio. My life seemed perfect, especially since I was about to get married the next day to Jessica Taylor. This wasn't just a marriage for love. It was a crucial strategic alliance between the Baker and Taylor families. Jessica's family owned Taylor & Associates Developments, a large real estate development firm, and our main client. I was the key piece to modernize Baker & Sons operations and integrate our technology with Taylor & Associates. The marriage would cement business ties worth millions of dollars. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. I loved Jessica deeply, but I wasn't naive about the commercial aspects of our relationship. My trust was my greatest strength, but as I discovered on that fateful eve, it was also my greatest vulnerability. I am a man of logical reasoning and always planned every step with mathematical precision. This meticulousness would be my secret weapon, but the betrayal came from where I least expected it. On the eve of the wedding, amidst the hustle and bustle of the final preparations at the Hilton Garden Inn in Columbus, my world collapsed in a way I could never have foreseen. The rehearsal dinner had ended a few hours earlier. I was at the hotel bar talking to some guests when Daniel Smith, my best friend since college and best man at the wedding, joined us. Daniel was always careless with technology. As a software architect myself, this always annoyed me. That night, he left his iPhone unlocked on the table while he went to the restroom. The screen lit up with a message notification, and what I saw chilled me to the bone. It was a message from Jessica. The start of the preview was already suspicious. Loved what you sent me. My instinct made me open the message conversation, and that's where I saw it. A video Daniel had sent her, an intimate video he himself had recorded of the two of them together, in her room. I immediately recognized Jessica's hotel room, and I recognized the voices, my fiancée, my best friend. My first instinct was to lunge forward and punch Daniel when he came back. Rage exploded in my chest like volcanic lava. But in the next second, a cold, calculating voice in my mind stopped me. It's not worth it. Don't go to jail for someone like them. With trembling but determined hands, I discreetly copied the file to my own phone before Daniel returned. When he sat down again, smiling and joking about the next day's wedding, I maintained a mask of normalcy I didn't even know I possessed. The video, recorded by Daniel himself apparently for his personal record, revealed the brutal truth. Jessica and him together, a few hours earlier in her hotel room. It was a double betrayal, coming from the two people I trusted most, less than 12 hours before walking down the aisle. The rage transformed into a chilling clarity I had never experienced before. My programmer's mind began to work, creating algorithms of revenge. I would keep this secret until the altar. The revenge would be public, devastating, technically perfect, and without legal risks for me. In retrospect, I realized signs I had ignored. In recent months, I noticed an increase in complicity between Jessica and Daniel, but I attributed it to their natural friendship and the intense wedding preparations. Conversations that stopped when I arrived. Glances that now made sense. Small touches I thought were innocent. My intuition, so sharp at detecting bugs in complex code, had completely failed to detect this human betrayal. But once exposed, my strategic mind turned entirely to executing the perfect revenge. I spent the rest of the night smiling, greeting guests, thanking them for well wishes. Inside, I was preparing the most important delivery system of my career. It wouldn't be software to optimize construction. It would be a system to optimize justice. That night, I couldn't sleep. While Jessica slept peacefully in her room, believing her secret was safe, I worked as I had never worked before. Not on logistics optimization code, but on the most important project of my career, the architecture of my revenge. As a developer, I knew that the execution of any system depended on meticulous planning. First, I analyzed the entire conversation between Daniel and Jessica. The message history revealed it wasn't the first time. There were at least 3 weeks of compromising messages, including other videos and photos. My fiancée and my best friend had been systematically betraying me while I organized our Caribbean honeymoon. I copied everything to an encrypted cloud drive. Every file, every message, every piece of evidence of the betrayal was now under my control. But I didn't just want proof. I wanted maximum impact. My mind began to design the perfect algorithm. The wedding would be at Riverside Gardens, an elegant venue on the banks of the Scioto River. 200 guests, including the main clients of Baker & Sons and Taylor & Associates. The ceremony would be at 4 p.m., with live coverage streamed to distant relatives via Facebook. I developed a mass distribution system using my own server infrastructure. I configured a script that would simultaneously send the most compromising video to all phone numbers on the guest list. The timing would be critical, exactly when I reached the part of the wedding vows. I spent the next few hours testing the system, ensuring it would work perfectly. Each guest received an SMS with a link to view the video, hosted on a temporary server I created specifically for this. Technically impeccable, legally irreproachable. On the morning of the wedding, I woke up with a serenity that surprised me. I had breakfast at IHOP, as I always did on Saturdays. I read the news in the Columbus Dispatch. I answered some work emails. I acted as if it were a normal day, because for me, in a way, it was. Daniel arrived at the hotel around 10 a.m. to help me with the preparations. He was euphoric, joking about married life, saying I was a lucky man for having found Jessica. Every word was a stab, but I smiled and agreed. "Man, you seem calm for someone getting married in a few hours," Daniel commented as he adjusted my tie. "You know me," I replied. "Always been good with planning. When you prepare everything right, there's no reason to be nervous." He laughed, unaware that my words had a much deeper meaning. Around noon, I received a call from Jessica. Her voice was sweet, full of anticipation. "My love, I'm so excited for our ceremony. It will be the most special day of our lives," she said. "I completely agree," I replied. "It will be a day no one will ever forget." She interpreted my response as romance. I knew it was a promise. At 2 p.m., all the guests were already heading to the venue. My family, the Taylor family, co-workers, college friends. The governor of Ohio himself had confirmed his attendance given the Taylor family's political ties to the local Democratic Party. I performed a final check on my system, everything working perfectly. The video was uploaded, the contact list validated, the timing synchronized with my watch. I had even created an automatic backup in case anything went wrong. "Ready for this, partner?" Daniel asked, patting me on the shoulder. "More than you can imagine," I replied, looking directly into his eyes. We arrived at Riverside Gardens at 3:30 p.m. The venue was impeccable. White and pink flowers decorated every detail. The altar was strategically positioned facing the river, with the Columbus skyline in the background. 200 guests in formal attire occupied the perfectly aligned white chairs. Reverend Patterson, who had known us since childhood, was beaming. My mother cried with emotion. Jessica's father, Robert Taylor, greeted me with a warm hug. "Welcome officially to the family, son," he said. "Thank you, Mr. Taylor," I replied. "I hope our union is everything you expect." There were 15 minutes until the ceremony when I saw Jessica appear at the end of the aisle. She was stunning in the Vera Wang wedding dress that cost $25,000. Her smile was radiant. Her eyes sparkled with happiness. For a moment, I almost forgot what I was about to do. Almost. But then my gaze met Daniel, standing beside me at the altar, smiling at the woman he had betrayed me with, and my resolve strengthened. The moment had arrived. The algorithm was ready to execute. The music began. Jessica started her walk towards the altar, towards what she believed was the beginning of our life together. I knew it would be the end of everything she knew. Jessica arrived at the altar with the most radiant smile I had ever seen. Her father placed her hand in mine with tears in his eyes. Reverend Patterson opened the Bible and began the ceremony with a prayer. 200 guests watched us in respectful silence. "Dear friends and family," the Reverend began, "we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Scott and Jessica in holy matrimony." My hands were steady. My heart beat at a controlled rhythm. Jessica held my hands and whispered, "I love you," just to me. Daniel beside me held the rings with a proud smile. The ceremony continued normally for about 15 minutes. Bible readings, reflections on love and commitment. When it was time for personal vows, the Reverend handed me the microphone. "Scott, would you like to share your vows with Jessica?" I took the microphone. It was now or never. "Jessica," I began, my voice echoing clearly through the sound system, "I have prepared something very special for this moment." She smiled, expecting words of eternal love. "Last night, I discovered a truth that changed everything, a truth that needs to be shared with everyone present here." Her smile began to falter. Some guests exchanged glances, realizing something was wrong. "You and Daniel, my best man, my best friend, you thought I would never find out." I triggered the script on my phone. In a matter of seconds, all 200 guests simultaneously received the SMS with the link to the video. What happened next was like watching a digital virus spread in real time. First, a few phones started vibrating. Then, dozens. In less than a minute, virtually all guests were looking at their screens. "But you know what's ironic?" I continued into the microphone. "Daniel was kind enough to document everything for me." Horror spread across Jessica's face like an ink stain. Daniel turned white as a sheet. Some guests let out gasps of shock. Others began to whisper loudly. "My God," I heard Jessica's mother murmur. "This can't be real," someone in the front row said. Jessica tried to snatch the microphone from my hand, but I pulled away. "Scott, please, can we talk about this in private?" she pleaded, her voice breaking. "No, Jessica. You chose to do this in secret. I choose to expose it in broad daylight." Daniel finally reacted. "Man, you don't understand. It was just one time. It was a mistake." "One time?" I interrupted. "The message history says otherwise. 3 weeks of betrayal, Daniel. 3 weeks of you two laughing at me behind my back." The chaos was complete now. Guests stood up, some heading towards the exit, others remaining to watch the drama unfold. Reverend Patterson tried to calm the situation. "Scott, my son, perhaps it would be best—" "Reverend," I interrupted respectfully. "With all due respect, I believe this ceremony has come to an end." It was then that Robert Taylor, Jessica's father, stood up from the front row. His face was red with anger and humiliation. "This is ridiculous," he yelled. "We're not going to let a misunderstanding destroy years of planning. Scott, you're being irrational." "Irrational?" I asked calmly. "Mr. Taylor, I suggest you watch the video before calling this a misunderstanding." My mother approached the altar, tears streaming down her face. "Scott, dear, what's going on?" "Mom, I discovered that Jessica betrayed me with Daniel. I cannot marry someone who doesn't respect me." The Taylor family went into damage control mode. Jessica's mother, Patricia, rushed towards the altar. "Please, Scott, accidents happen. Jessica is pregnant. Think about the baby. Think about our companies. You can overcome this." This was the information I had been waiting for. Jessica was pregnant, and they were using it as emotional manipulation. "Interesting," I said into the microphone. "So there's a baby in the middle of this situation." Jessica started crying uncontrollably. "Scott, I can explain." "No need to explain," I replied. "But I think everyone here deserves to know whose child this is." Daniel finally spoke. "Bro, this is crazy. You're humiliating all of us." "I'm not humiliating anyone, Daniel. You humiliated yourselves." I turned back to Jessica. "Are you sure you know who the father is?" The silence was deafening. Jessica couldn't answer. Her hesitation said it all. "I suggest a paternity test," I declared publicly. "Let's clear this up once and for all." Robert Taylor exploded. "That's enough. You're destroying 2 respectable families because of jealousy." "Mr. Taylor," I replied calmly, "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just revealing what was already destroyed." At that moment, Jessica collapsed. She knelt right there at the altar, sobbing uncontrollably. "I don't know who the baby's father is," she confessed through tears. "It could be Daniel's." The silence that followed was absolute. 200 guests processing the confession. Daniel stood paralyzed. The Taylor and Baker families watched their reputations and business alliances crumble in real time. I turned to the guests and spoke into the microphone one last time. "I apologize to everyone who came here today expecting a celebration. Unfortunately, I discovered that I cannot marry someone who doesn't respect me. Thank you for being here." I turned off the microphone, took the ring off my finger, and left it on the altar next to Jessica, who was still kneeling, shattered. Daniel tried to approach. "Scott, man, we can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I replied. "You made your choices. Now live with the consequences." I walked away from the altar with my dignity intact, while behind me remained only the chaos that the truth had revealed. I walked out of Riverside Gardens under the gazes of 200 people. Some looked at me with pity, others with admiration, many with shock. I didn't care about any of them. I had executed my plan perfectly. I drove to my apartment in Short North, packed my bags methodically, and left Columbus that same night. Not to run away, but to heal away from the circus I knew would follow. In the following days, as I traveled the country, the consequences of the exposure unfolded exactly as I had predicted. My assistant Sarah kept me informed via email. The video had spread beyond the wedding guests. It was circulating in WhatsApp groups, being shared on Facebook, becoming the talk of Columbus. The paternity test I had publicly suggested happened 2 weeks later. Jessica tried to resist, but the social and family pressure was too much. Robert Taylor, trying to salvage what was left of the family's reputation, insisted on the test. The result confirmed my suspicion. Daniel was the father. Sarah sent me the news by email. "Scott, the test came back. You were right, the whole city is talking about it. Taylor and Associates lost 3 big contracts this week. Clients don't want to be associated with the scandal." I felt no pleasure in the news. I felt relief. The truth had prevailed. During my trip across the United States, I reflected a lot on everything. I drove along the Blue Ridge Parkway, visited national parks in Utah, spent a week in San Diego. Every mile on the road helped me process the betrayal and reconnect with myself. It was in Denver, 3 months after the wedding that never happened, that I reconnected with Emily White. She was at a tech conference where I had decided to give a lecture on logistics systems optimization. Emily was a software developer I knew from Ohio State University 15 years ago. "Scott Baker," she said, approaching after my presentation. "I can't believe it's you." Emily was always different. Smart, honest, direct. During college, we had some deep conversations about technology and life, but it was never romantic. "Emily," I smiled genuinely for the first time in months. "What an amazing surprise." We went for coffee that afternoon. She didn't mention the wedding scandal, though I knew she had probably heard about it. We talked about work, about life, about how we had changed since college. "You seem different," she observed. "More mature. Like you've been through something transformative." "I have," I admitted. "I learned some hard lessons about trust and about who's truly worth having in your life." Emily smiled. "The most important lessons are always the hardest." We started corresponding regularly. Emails, video calls, messages. After 6 months, I decided to move to Denver. Baker and Sons no longer needed me physically in Columbus. I had digitized practically all operations. I could work remotely and focus on consulting for other construction companies. The move was liberating. In Denver, I built a new life with Emily. She saw me for who I really was, not for the commercial alliance I represented. Our relationship grew organically, based on mutual respect and genuine honesty. 1 year after the canceled wedding, Emily and I were living together. 2 years later, we got married in an intimate ceremony in Rocky Mountain National Park, with only our families present. There was no drama, no betrayal, no hidden agendas, just true love. Meanwhile, in Columbus, the consequences for Jessica and Daniel continued to unfold. Sarah occasionally told me the news whenever I asked. Jessica had the baby, a boy who was clearly Daniel's son. They ended up getting married, but not out of love, out of necessity. Two people who had destroyed their own reputations, together by circumstance. Taylor and Associates developments never fully recovered from the scandal. They lost several important contracts, including a $50 million project with the city of Columbus. Robert Taylor had to sell stakes in the company to keep the operation running. Daniel lost his job at the marketing firm where he worked. No reputable company in Columbus wanted to hire someone associated with the scandal. He ended up working in sales for a used car dealership. My own family, Baker and Sons, prospered without the alliance with the Taylors. Without the political and social pressure of that partnership, we were able to focus on what we did best, providing quality materials to regional construction companies. Our profits increased 20% in the year following the canceled wedding. 5 years later, Emily and I had our first daughter, Sophie. 2 years later, our son, Michael. We built a solid life, based on genuine trust and true love. Occasionally, when I went back to Columbus to visit my family, I heard comments about Jessica and Daniel. They still lived in the city, but they were practically social pariahs. The scandal had permanently marked them. Once, about 6 years after the canceled wedding, I ran into Jessica at Easton Town Center. She was with her son, now a small child. She looked older, tired, defeated. "Scott," she said, clearly uncomfortable. "Jessica," I replied politely. She hesitated for a moment, then said, I wanted to apologize for what we did. You didn't deserve that." "No," I calmly agreed. "I didn't deserve it, but I also don't deserve to hold a grudge. I hope you found peace." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and walked away. At that moment I realized that my revenge had been complete not by what I did to them, but by what I built for myself. The best revenge truly was the truth, and the freedom to build a new story, with those who truly mattered. Today, at 40, I live in Denver with Emily and our children. My logistics optimization consulting firm serves clients nationwide. I am respected in my field. I have a family that genuinely loves me, and I sleep peacefully every night. Jessica and Daniel's betrayal, which could have destroyed me, ended up freeing me. It forced me to discover who I really was when stripped of family expectations and social pressures. It led me to Emily, the true love of my life. I learned that the most powerful revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something so beautiful and true that it makes the betrayal irrelevant. It's living so well that those who betrayed you become merely a footnote in the story of your happiness. Jessica and Daniel destroyed themselves with their own choices. I merely exposed the truth and moved on. They remained trapped in the consequences of their actions. I freed myself for a better life. If you enjoyed this story, like it, share it, and leave your comment telling us what you thought. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and hit the bell to receive notifications of new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and until next time.